Hi, good evening, traders. We are on the 2nd of March 2022, 8:27 p.m. And well, it was quite a day for the benchmark Nifty. This is the daily chart of the near month futures, wherein you can clearly see an inside bar, a very spinning top kind of a behavior on the Japanese candlestick chart. Let's break this down and let's try and understand what's happening and what's in store. So the larger picture is very much intact. We are still in a downtrend, very much, wherein we can clearly see that the averages have rolled down and they're opening up now. We are in this channel, and this channel seems to be doing fairly well for a couple of lows now on the downside. Um, Momentum is still fairly weak. Not much of signs over here that we can have a reversal anytime soon or some strong bottom has got formed. None as of now. We did get a decent move on Monday, but today's opening was quite disturbing. And then later on, last hour, we got a fantastic bounce back, which resulted in this kind of a spinning top. So what's next? The trend is still down. Okay, so there's no doubt about that, and we need a bounce back. And we had faced a gap down here, which you can clearly see more or less coincides pretty well with these lows. So to work with, resistances should be close to that 16,800 all the way towards 16,950, 17K mark. So 16,800, 17K mark, we can leave it like this as the immediate resistance. Unless this is taken care of, one should expect the market to stay weak. How does this range look on the 75-minute time frame? So this is where you are essentially. You are looking. Okay, you're looking at Monday's high, and this range more or less coincides with multiple erstwhile lows. So that's what it is looking like on the short term upside. So this was the last 75-minute bar, which I was just mentioning about the all of a sudden sharp bounce back from the Nifty and the Bank Nifty as well. More or less took care of the entire day's drag on the downside. But structure wise, sentiment wise, nothing much has changed overall. The market still stays fairly reactive to the global cues, particularly um, to the Russia-Ukraine war and its repercussions. Um, so strategically, one should maintain bearishness, cautiousness. If you're not into derivative shorts, that is, if you're a primarily long-only trader, then it makes sense to keep your aggressiveness on the long side for a slightly more longer span of time. Let me just quickly change these visibility and leave it to days. Now, the weekly chart I would like to quickly revisit once more, because we had worked on this weekly time frame wherein close to that psychological 16K mark, there was a confluence, the channel border, the volume profile, the Fibonacci numbers. So 16K works as the immediate level if we have the channel breakdown from here on. And the smaller time frames are just holding on, and needs to be seen whether it has got the movement further on the upside or not. Just before I move on to the Bank Nifty and few other sectors, please note that the index has broken below the December lows, and the broader market, small cap, mid cap, most of them has broken below theirs, and only few sector like metal is just holding above. Um, Before I move on to the Bank Nifty, so what's the call for the Nifty? Trend down, momentum is still fairly weak. Short term bounce back, which we observed on Monday and late today, can extend its bit towards that 16,800, 17, even towards 16,800, say 17. We should be looking as a bounce back in a downtrend rather than a sign of strength. If you look to trade this bounce back on the long side, just limit your trades to be short term in nature only. Bank Nifty relatively better off because, okay, let me just quickly remove this background. Yes, is relatively better off because Bank Nifty is still holding decently well above its December lows. Um, Nifty has broken below that. But we did notice some fresh weakness within the private sector banks. Now, what worries me a little bit here in the bank Nifty chart is this opening up of the moving averages on the downside with this fall. And so, going forward, any kind of bounce back, if it fails to show strength and if it faces resistances close to that 37,000 mark, I think if you take a look at the 37,000 call option, you might clearly see some huge call writing. I've not checked, but I'm just guessing by the price and the market momentum. And if it fails to take out 37K, and if the next move opens up, that can be a little disturbing for the bank Nifty and, of course, for the Nifty also. But overall, as of now, we are looking at this rising channel, and the index is dealing with this rising channel now. That's a difference we have. The bank Nifty is showing strength above its holding above its December lows. On the 35-minute time frame, you'll notice a similar kind of a sharp bounce back, very sharp bounce back in the last trade. But again, the same story as I was mentioning about the Nifty. No structural change. If we drop a volume profile from its recent swing highs, we are yet to see some volumes. It's volumes which will imply that there is kind of an accumulation happening. Is It's not shaping up that much. Majority of the volumes happened in this range where we had this breakdown. So going further up, this level is extremely important for the index. As I said, oversold, dealing with supports, trying to show some strength, can lead to some short-term bounce back. Will it be just short-term bounce back or more? That time will tell us. But as of now, in terms of structure, trend, sentiment, um, nothing much. Even if it gives the bounce back, and even if you participate in the bounce back with a long trade, just keep this back of your mind that it's going to be a short-term trade for you. Um, as we record this video, quick look at the global markets, and the Dow Jones US markets have opened. The Dow Jones S&P 500 are up 1%, which is fine, which is all right after falling sharply yesterday. Today it's trying to give you a bounce back. SGX Nifty is flat at 16,597, 16,600 kind of levels, down just 19 points. European markets are fairly positive. So with this kind of a scenario, we can expect flattish to positive open from the for the Indian markets if SGX gives us that kind of cues. Now, top stocks, of course, Tata Steel and the rest of the metals are just zoomed up on the upside. In fact, the metals have supported this index phenomenally well. Now, it's difficult. For me as a trader, it's very difficult to try and capture these kind of I, in fact, don't even attempt to do that. Let them go because there are other days, other types of setups in the market which work equally well. So literally a V bounce back from the metals, which has helped the market over the last 3 to 4 days, and it continues so. But it's trendless. Even if you take a look at the sectoral indices, and if you take a look at the metal, you'll notice one thing, that it is in a zone. It's essentially stuck in a zone. So whether this rally will be used to distribute like it was done here or not, that time will tell us. But as of now, the metals are supporting well, and some odd support from large cap stocks like Reliance is also there. Um Finance and private sector banks like ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank fell sharply and can consolidate going forward. So I feel that the markets are likely to stay stock and sector specific, and one might continue to get both opportunities on the long side as well as on the short side. Um, but these are difficult times. These are not easy times for easy picks, where you have the overall market sentiment and trend and momentum behind you. Sentiments changing very quick in this kind of an environment. Global cues are extremely important. So gap downs and gap ups have become a common phenomenon. And so these are not easy times. These are hard times which a trader needs to see through, sail through this with minimal damage, as much as minimum damage as possible. And so I keep on, bickering the same sentences, saying that these are the times where focusing on the capital preservation is more important than chasing profits. So, having said this, with the weekly expiry tomorrow, I think 16,800 will be an important call writing level for the Nifty all the way towards 17K. We'll see how it closes tomorrow, but stay careful, stay cautious, and keep your trades limited, both in terms of number of trades and in terms of your holding period. Till then, take care of yourselves, trade well, and trade wise.